everyone, my name is Kamini and I am a storyteller. Art Walk Little India 2021 has gone completely virtual this year. So this year I'll be sharing two different stories as two different videos for Art Walk Little India 2021. The Thaipusam story and Cattle Tales. In this video, we're going to find out the history of Serangoon Road and how it's linked to cattle, to cows, to bulls and to buffaloes as well. So if we go down to Serangoon Road right now, today, there's lots of things to see and do. There are many shops, especially shops selling food, selling fabric, selling jewels. There are markets vibrant with vegetables and fruits and all kinds of different produce. There are so many shops with so many things for all of us to do. But Serangoon Road never looked like this a long time ago. It was completely different. Did you know that in the early 1890s all the way to 1860, buffaloes and bullock carts were a common sight along Serangoon Road? They were the only mode of transport to bring down from Johor spices like black pepper and gambia. In the early years, Serangoon Road was just a buffalo-trodden dirt track. It was a very busy and bustling cattle hub simply because it had lots of ponds full of water and swamps nearby. Can you guess the importance of swamps for buffaloes? That's right, for the buffaloes to take a bath and to cool off in the cold, swampy mud. Now, close by to where Serangoon Road is located, there used to be a harbour, and ships and boats would come and they would unload all their goods and cargo. And in those days, on this sort of dirt-trodden track, you couldn't have vehicles come up to the ships to take and transport all these goods and cargo. Only the bullock carts could. And so the buffaloes and the bulls would go down, pulling their carts, and they would be laden with all these heavy boxes and packages and sacks full of cargo from different parts of the world. And these bullock carts would then go up Serangoon Road and transfer all the goods to the different roads that led to different parts of Singapore. Now, because of all this busy activity surrounding cows and bulls and buffaloes and all the trade that was going on, there were enclosures to keep all the cattle safe. And in the Malay language, the name for a buffalo enclosure is kandang Kerbau. Now, this name may be familiar to some of you because there's a hospital named after Kandang Kerbau. We know it today as the KK Hospital. So if you go down to Serangoon Road today, you'll find road signs named after the cattle industry that used to happen there many years ago. Kerbau Road or Buffalo Road is named after the buffalo, or in the Malay language, the Kerbau. There were many people from different parts of India those days who had heard about the cattle trade right here in Serangoon Road. And so many of them were herdsmen, very familiar with looking after cows and bulls and buffaloes. And so they came on boats all the way to Singapore to Serangoon Road, where they continued to ply their trade. They looked after the cows and bulls and buffaloes, and there was a flourishing dairy trade with milkmen. Now, these milkmen would have big pots full of cow's milk or even buffalo's milk, and they would go from house to house and deliver milk to all the different people who wanted to buy milk for their home consumption. The women, they would use the milk and they would make it into curds or yogurt, and they would carry them on pots on their head or sometimes in big pails on either side, and they would walk along the different roads and alleys of Serangoon Road, and they would deliver the cold, fresh yogurt to all the different households that wanted them. Now, with all these cows and bulls and buffaloes working so hard, they would get hungry and they had to eat something. Did you know, in the middle of Serangoon Road, there was a beautiful house that was used as a sweet factory? That structure of that house that used to be a sweet factory can still be found in Serangoon Road. It is known as the House of Tan Peng Nya. Now, to make sweets in a sweet factory, you needed something sweet. And this sweetness came from sugar cane. And when all the juice had been extracted out of the sugar cane, the fibers would be left outside Tan Peng Nya's house or the sweet factory. And guess who would come up to Tan Peng Nya's house and eat up all the delicious sweet sugarcane fibers. Of course, the cows and bulls and the baby calves would have free food to eat that was sweet. Road signs are not the only way that cattle are remembered as connected to the deep history of Serangoon Road. Cattle are also remembered once a year, especially in the month of January during the harvest festival of Pongal. The harvest festival of Pongal is celebrated as the new year to give thanks for the new harvest of crops. It's when houses are decorated and cleaned. It's when columns or rangoli designs are placed outside homes and temples. It's also when the cows and bulls and calves and cattle are washed and given a good bath and beautifully decorated with fabric, with flower garlands, with a bindi on their forehead, and sometimes even with jewelry like a beautiful necklace around their necks. Cattle are revered because they are the animals that work hard in the fields. They are the ones that help the farmer to harvest the crops and to plow the fields. And so during Pongal, especially on Cow Pongal or Matu Pongal, cows are decorated and celebrated. As the harvest festival and also beginning of the year for those who are working as farmers, they need to have something symbolic of abundance and plenty so that they are ensured of a beautiful, bountiful harvest in the following or coming year. And so as a symbol, pots of cow's milk are boiled until the milk bubbles and boils and rises over the rim, over the edge of the pot, and overflows around the pot and down onto the stove or onto the floor. This overflowing milk is a symbol of plenty and abundance and promises a new year full of good harvest and good crops for the farming community. You may be wondering how cows and bulls and buffaloes ended up as the animals that tend the farms and fields. How did they end up as the ones that work with the plows, work with the farmers, the ones that have to harvest the crops and carry all the grains on their backs or on carts? Well, there's a story behind Pongal that explains the connection of cows to farmers. A long time ago, Lord Shiva, up in the celestial heavens, had with him a cow called Nandi. The cow, Nandi, was a devotee of Lord Shiva and sometimes also acted as his messenger. One day, Lord Shiva had a message to send down from heaven all the way down to earth to all mankind. And so he asked Nandi, his messenger, to take his message carefully and to pass it on to all the men and women and children who live down on earth. Nandi listened carefully to Lord Shiva's message. Lord Shiva told Nandi to tell all men, women and children to eat a meal once a month and to have an oil bath every day. Now Nandi the bull, he traveled down from the celestial heavens and he arrived on earth. And there he met all the people, all of mankind who lived on earth. And Nandi passed on Lord Shiva's message. But Nandi forgot. He confused the message and he reversed the order of what Lord Shiva had asked him to say. And instead of asking mankind to eat a meal once a month and to have an oil bath every day, what do you think Nandi told them? Oh dear, he told mankind to eat a meal every single day and to have an oil bath only once a month. Nandi had passed on his message from Lord Shiva to mankind, and Nandi left the earth and he went up to the celestial heavens. And there he proudly announced to Lord Shiva what he had done. When Lord Shiva heard what Nandi had done, he was furious. Nandi, I told you to pass on my message, but now that you have told them to eat a meal every day, how will they have enough food to harvest and eat? There is not enough crops, not enough food for them to eat a meal every single day. For your mistake, Nandi, you are going to be punished. You have to be the one to go back down to earth. You have to be the one to help mankind farm. You have to be the one to plow the fields. You have to be the one to harvest the crops. And you have to be the one to carry the grains on your back. And so it was that dear Nandi, Nandi the bull, also known as Basava, left Lord Shiva's abode in the celestial heavens and came down, down, down to earth and lived with mankind, where he helped them farm by plowing the fields, helping to plant the crops, and also helping to carry all the grains on his back. So that is how it started, with cows and bulls and buffaloes being closely linked to farmers, helping farmers to harvest and plant their crops. So once a year during the harvest festival of Pongal, especially during Matu Pongal or Cow Pongal, cows and bulls and buffaloes are celebrated as a form of thanksgiving by decorating them and by looking after them and feeding them with lots of delicious food that they like to eat. Some of the delicious food that is fed to cows and buffaloes and bulls during Pongal: bananas, sugarcane, and of course, fresh, green, sweet grass. Thank you so much for listening to my story of Cattle Tales. I hope you've understood the history of Serangoon Road and how closely linked it is to cattle, to cows, to calves, to bulls, and to buffaloes. I hope you've also understood the story of Pongal, the harvest festival, especially the importance of Matu Pongal or Cow Pongal. Don't forget to watch my other video for Art Walk Little India 2021 and listen to the Thaipusam story. Thank you so much.